Have you ever felt like your mind works differently from everyone else's? Not better, just different. You notice things other people ignore. You think about questions long after everyone else has moved on. And sometimes, the very traits that make life harder seem impossible to switch off. Most people imagine intelligence as quick answers and impressive achievements. But psychology suggests something deeper. Some of the strongest signs of intelligence don't feel like strengths at all. Let's explore 10 signs that often go unnoticed. You may recognize more of them than you expect. Sign number 1. You replay conversations long after they're over. The conversation ended hours ago. Yet part of your mind is still there. Replaying the words. Analyzing the tone. Wondering what someone really meant. Psychologists believe intelligent minds often process information more deeply and for longer periods. Your brain isn't just remembering. It's searching for patterns and hidden meanings. Like a detective returning to a crime scene. Looking for clues everyone else missed. And that tendency often leads to another strange habit. Sign number 2. You always think of better answers later. Have you ever walked away from a discussion and suddenly discovered the perfect response? Hours later. Maybe even days later. This happens because your brain continues processing information in the background. Neuroscientists call this offline processing. Even when your attention moves elsewhere, parts of your brain continue working on unresolved problems. Like a computer running tasks after the screen goes dark. The answer arrives late. But often it's better than the one you had in the moment. Which raises an interesting question. Why does your brain refuse to let things go? Sign number 3. You ask questions other people don't ask. Most people stop at the answer. You stop at the question. Why did that happen? What caused it? What's underneath it? Curiosity is one of the strongest psychological predictors of intellectual growth. Highly intelligent people aren't satisfied with surface explanations. They want the mechanism, the system behind the system, the hidden gears inside the machine. This is why you can spend 20 minutes researching a random topic that appeared in a conversation. Your brain treats uncertainty like an unfinished puzzle. And unfinished puzzles demand attention. But curiosity has a side effect. Sign number 4. You get bored faster than most people. You learn the rules. You understand the pattern. And suddenly your interest disappears. Not because you're lazy, because your brain adapts quickly. Psychologists call this habituation. Once something becomes predictable, your brain stops treating it as important. The challenge is gone. The mystery has faded. And your attention starts searching for the next thing to explore. This can make ordinary routines feel strangely draining. But there's another consequence. Sign number 5. You overthink simple decisions. Choosing a movie. Sending a text. Making a career decision. For some reason, simple choices don't stay simple. Why? Because your brain sees too many possibilities. Behavioral psychologists describe this as expanded option awareness. Most people see 2 or 3 outcomes. You see 10. And each one creates another branch. Like standing in front of a tree that keeps growing new paths. The advantage is better analysis. The disadvantage is mental exhaustion. And that leads directly into another sign. Sign number 6. You notice patterns everywhere. Sometimes you predict things before they happen. Not because you're psychic, because you've seen the pattern before. Intelligence is closely tied to pattern recognition. The ability to connect separate pieces of information into a larger picture. You notice trends in people, behaviors in relationships, cycles in business, repeated mistakes, repeated successes. While others focus on individual events, your brain naturally searches for the thread connecting them all. But seeing patterns often creates another challenge. Sign number 7. You don't easily follow group thinking. Imagine a room where everyone immediately agrees. Most people feel comfortable. Your mind becomes suspicious. Not because you enjoy arguing, because your brain automatically searches for alternative explanations. Psychologists call this independent thinking. The ability to evaluate ideas without relying entirely on social approval. You instinctively ask, what if everyone is wrong? What am I missing? This trait can make you feel different from the group. But it also protects you from blindly accepting bad ideas. And it reveals something else about your mind. Sign number 8. You enjoy learning things with no practical use. You start reading about ancient civilizations, or black holes, or psychology, or some random topic you'll probably never need. Hours disappear. Yet you don't regret it. Why? Because curiosity itself is rewarding. Research shows that learning activates the brain's reward system. For highly curious people, knowledge isn't just useful. It's enjoyable. The process becomes its own reward. And that creates a lifelong habit of exploration. One that often shapes how you relate to other people. Sign number 9. You often feel misunderstood. This isn't because you're smarter than everyone else. It's because your thinking process is invisible. Your brain makes connections rapidly. You arrive at a conclusion. But the steps that got you there happen so quickly that explaining them becomes difficult. People hear the answer. They don't see the journey. Imagine showing someone the final piece of a puzzle without showing the 1,000 pieces that came before it. That's often what communication feels like. And perhaps that's why the final sign surprises so many people. Sign number 10. You feel like you know less the more you learn. This seems backwards. Shouldn't learning make you feel more knowledgeable? Not always. The deeper you explore a subject, the larger it becomes. Every answer reveals new questions. Every discovery reveals another layer of complexity. Psychologists call this intellectual humility. The recognition that reality is bigger than your current understanding. Ironically, people who know very little often feel certain. People who know a lot often feel curious. Because they can see how much remains unknown. And that curiosity never really ends. If you've recognized yourself in several of these signs, remember something important. None of them prove that you're a genius. And intelligence isn't a measure of your worth. But together they point toward something deeper. A mind that processes information differently. A mind that searches for patterns, questions, connections, possibilities. Think of intelligence like a flashlight. Most people point it directly in front of them. Some people shine it into corners others never think to examine. The flashlight isn't better. Simply looking in different places. And sometimes that creates confusion. Sometimes it creates loneliness. But it also creates understanding. So if you've spent years criticizing yourself for being too curious, too thoughtful, too analytical, maybe those traits aren't flaws after all. Maybe they're signs of a mind that's still searching. And perhaps the smartest thing a person can do isn't having all the answers. It's staying curious enough to keep asking questions.